Hello, welcome to lesson 4 in my series Happy Hips, Happy Knees and Happy Feet. This lesson is a great companion lesson to do after lesson 3. You'll remember that lesson was about hip and shoulder circles, and this lesson explores similar movements from a slightly different perspective. I'm hoping after you've done the lesson that you'll feel a real difference in the way that you're walking, and also perhaps discover something about how you can climb up and down the stairs, for example, more easily. So please begin the lesson by lying down on your back. Excuse me. Take a little bit of support if you need it, of course, for the head. And then just take a moment to notice how you make contact into the floor, whether the chest is perhaps a little bit lifted away from the floor, or do you feel most of the back resting down? Notice how you've chosen to place the two legs. Are you holding the feet pointing up towards the ceiling, or can you allow the hips to release? And notice how you've chosen to place the two arms, and where on the back of the head are you resting. And then please, just by way of a preliminary movement, roll the head very, very lazily from one side to the other. Just checking as you're rolling the head, as I've mentioned before, whether you have a tendency to grip the jaw or keep the lower teeth clenched against the upper teeth, and see if you are doing that and let it go, whether that changes the ease of rolling. Once you've done that a few times, then please bend the knees and come to lie on your side. Now, I'm lying on my left side because that's facing the camera, and I'm going to take a little bit of support underneath my head so that I'm not straining any of my neck muscles, and you probably want to do something the same so that the head is more or less in line with the spine. Initially, have the two legs bent up, and then please straighten your top leg. For me, it's my right leg down and away from you, but keep the foot in contact with the floor. Now the other arm can either be down on your, resting on your side, but I like to have it either in front of me or just resting with the arm bent on the side. So I'll keep it just resting on the side so that as not to interfere with the view. And then please bring your attention to your top leg and flex the heel. Flex the heel so that I draw the toes back towards me. And then begin to imagine there's something just beyond your heel that you wanted to push away, and then release. But as you release and as you push away, try and keep the legs straight. So I'm just going to reach away with the leg and then release. So just reaching away, checking as it's a new movement that you're not, again, holding the breath or clenching the jaw. And as you begin to reach away, you'll perhaps notice a couple of things. So I'm just going to bring my hand onto the side of the pelvis here, and as I reach away, I can feel that side of the pelvis following the leg as it were. But then also I notice as I reach it away how, to help me reach it, what's happening is my ribs are getting involved. So I'm thinking of perhaps maybe creating a bridge underneath myself, so to help reach that leg away. So in other words, the reaching of the leg is not just happening from here downwards, it's really a whole body event. And as you just get used to this, you can perhaps even begin to feel, I can feel it moving my spine between the shoulder blades, I can feel how the pressure underneath the side of my head changes. I feel a little pull in the neck, but it's a pleasant pull rather than a stretch to reach the leg away. And then as you do this a few times and you begin to notice, are your ribs getting involved? And maybe you can begin to think of including this notion of the ribs helping to reach the leg. And I can feel a lengthening going on the side. So for a lot of people, this space between the hip and the ribs gets short and tight. After I taught this lesson this week to my class here in Rutland, one of my students who has recently had an operation on her foot and had compensated for that a little bit by avoiding bringing weight onto that side, she told me that one of the reasons she loved this lesson is it really helped her to find this length in her right hand side. Now pause, just rest for a moment. You can bring the top knee to rest on the other one. And then once you've rested a little bit, then take the leg long again, this top leg, again flex through the heel. And this time think of pulling the leg towards you in the sense of towards the head and let go. Pulling the leg towards me and then let go. Again, I'm trying to keep the legs straight, and this time I can feel how the pelvis comes closer to my head, the right side of the pelvis, and these ribs underneath me are pressing down into the floor, pressing down to help me bring the leg closer to me. Okay, just check as you try this a few times, are you breathing, not holding the breath? And then once you've done that a few times, then go in both directions. So I reach the leg long and away from me, and then shorten it towards me. Long and away, and shorten it towards me. That's it, feeling how I can lengthen the whole of my top side as the bottom side lifts up, and then I shorten the leg towards me, and I can feel these ribs pressing down. Now, just as you get used to going in both directions, just check what's happening in the area of the lower back and the pelvis. You see, one way of doing this would be to arch the back and push the tummy out. But just notice, is that your tendency? Are you substituting a sort of 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock movement for this? Really give yourself time to find this sense. It's really a side lengthening and a side shortening. Good. Now pause, take a rest on the back, and just notice how that all feels. And then roll the head a little bit from side to side. Good. And then please pause, and then turn onto your other side to do the same movement with the other leg. So I'm just going to flip over so you can I can still watch the camera. So you bend the underneath leg, lengthen the top leg away, just try and make sure it's more or less in line with the side of the body. And then begin to reach the leg away and release. So keeping the leg long, have the foot flexed, I'm reaching and releasing, reaching and releasing. It's really, I love the way it creates movement in the cervical spine between the shoulder blades as well. And now I can, again, I'm feel my ribs lifting up away from the floor to help this movement, just lengthening away. And you might well find it's very different on one side to the other. If you've developed a walking pattern, that means you pretty much stay on one leg, one side. What will happen is one side will probably get shorter and the other habitually longer, and so this lesson will certainly challenge that pattern. Now pause, just rest for a second, and then straighten the top leg again, and now explore bringing the leg closer to you and release, closer to you. So I can feel this area shortening, these muscles certainly contracting, and I release. And again I can feel I'm pressing as I bring the leg closer to me, I feel these ribs pressing into the floor. And now I'm going to combine both directions, shortening and lengthening the leg, just seeing how far can you comfortably lengthen it, and release, comfortably lengthen it, and then shorten it towards you, away and towards you. And then once you've done that a few times, leave it alone and have a rest again. So I'm going to flip from one end of the mat to the other. You might just want to turn around if you're doing it at home once you've got the idea of the instructions. Okay, I'm just taking a moment to notice how that feels. Good. And then please bend the knees and come to lie. So again, for me, it's on the left-hand side. I'm taking support. And now, this time, bend. Keep your top leg bent and straighten your top leg, or your underneath leg long and away from you. So this top knee is just resting on the floor. And now this time, can you think of just sliding the top knee a little bit forward and back. So it goes forward and back, forward and back. As you're just sliding it forward, notice what else gets involved in the movement. It doesn't have to be a big movement, but I can feel, of course, my pelvis is helping with the movement. I can feel that movement travelling through my spine. I can feel how these ribs underneath me are rolling into the floor, and I come back. And because I like to play with these ideas, so one way, of course, is just to think of the knee, but now that I've discovered that these ribs and the pelvis have something to do with the knee moving forward and back, I'm thinking, can I really initiate it from here, my torso rolling into the floor and then rolling back. Now I'm noticing how my shoulder is coming forward and back, and I'm just going to try and fix my arms for a second and then just try what it's like to do the movement, keeping the arms and the shoulders pretty much still. See whether that helps me to differentiate this movement from the upper part of the chest. Now pause, and then the next variation is to try bringing this top knee back. So I'm just sliding it back, coming back to the starting position, sliding it back, and I can only get it so far before I feel the knee wanting to lift. So I don't want it in this lesson to lift. So I'm just staying at the point where the knee does want to lift. And then combine the two directions. So you go forward, come back, and back a little bit, forward, and back. You can try all these variations either with the arm on the side, and the arm bent on the side, or you can also try this variation of having the hands together to see how that affects the movement. Your other leg is long. Good. And then pause. Now change the legs again, so it's my right leg that's long and the bottom one is bent in front of me. Think of keeping your top leg long and the foot flexed again in line with the hip. And now think of making a circle on the floor with the heel. As if I'm painting a circle on the floor. I'm going to have the hand now on the side, see if that helps to make, and it does, helps me to make a bigger circle. Again, I can feel how lots of movement is happening in my chest and my spine to make this circle. And then once I've tried a few circles in one direction, I'm going to reverse the circle. Now, it's probably not a very good circle, couldn't care less really, but I'm trying to make it as good as I can. Just playing with, can I make it a bit bigger? That's it. And that size comes from the ribs and the chest. Good. And then pause, please leave it alone and take a rest. So very interesting. To be honest, I wasn't feeling that much of a difference in my contact with the other variations. Here I can feel a lot more connected on my right hand side, the foot into the hip. You can see perhaps all the movement that's happening in the spine, and a nice sense of space in my right hip joint. So let's do that on the other side. So I'm going to shift around again. Have your bottom leg long, your top leg, so now it's my left leg in front of me and my arm's just on the side, and I'm just going to explore. I'm going to combine the two directions straight away, so coming forward, starting position, and then back. I feel that's the point the knee wants to lift. Forward and back. Now, if you're very mobile or in the hip joints, you'll be tempted to make this a very big movement. It's a very nice opening in the hip joint, but don't overdo it. Sometimes if you are more flexible, better to keep within a smaller range to really explore where the movement is coming from and what's involved. Now I can feel, okay, now to take the knee forward, so I felt focused on the knee. Now I'm feeling the movement around my ribs that are making contact with the floor. Shoulders also involved, the top shoulder is going forward and back. And now I'm just going to try the variation by keeping my hands pretty much still and then taking the knee forward and back. So again, you just have to be careful you're not going up and down, so just forward and back, forward and back. Good. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to change the legs around. I have my top leg long with a flex again, and now I'm just going to explore making some circles on the floor with the heel. So you'll have to be careful not trying to make this circle with a kind of bicycling action. Just seeing, can you make a circle with a long leg? Is it going, can you see how it's, a lot of this circle is happening because of all this movement, this lovely movement in my ribs and spine. Feel my head getting involved. I'm going to reverse the direction of the circle. You might find there's parts of the circle that are very accessible, others less accessible. So if that is the case, slow it down, and so you really are doing what you think you're doing, and not just what you habitually tend to do. Good. Now pause, and then take a rest again. Feel a nice sense of space in both hip joints now. And I'm just going to roll the head again a little bit from one side to the other. See how that feels. You can feel this shift of weight to one side of the spine and then the other. And then please bend the knees again and come to lie on your left hand, well for me it's the left hand side, left hand side. And then please lengthen your top leg again, so for me it's my right, flex through the heel. And now think again of lengthening the leg down and shortening it towards you, or pulling it towards you, lengthening it down, and bring your attention to your top shoulder and see if you can, as the leg goes down, the shoulder goes down, and as the leg comes up, the shoulder comes up. So they're kind of going in the same direction, away from you and then towards you. Way and then towards you. I'm going quite quickly through this lesson for the purposes of the video. If you need to slow it down, then please do so, or do less repetitions. I think the idea for me behind these videos is once you have gotten the idea of the movements, that you'll be able to not necessarily rely on the video, but take the movements with you into your other activities. Good. So shoulder's been going down and up with the leg, and now I'm going to think, can I have the shoulder and the pelvis come closer together and then away from each other? Together. So I'm shortening this top side. The hand is kind of reaching towards the foot and the foot towards the hand, and then I think of them going away from each other, towards each other and away. So it's a big, creating a bigger bridge now underneath me than I was before, and I think of flattening my ribs down into the floor because I'm closing this top side, away from each other and then towards each other. Once you get it, it's a lovely, lovely movement to do. Good. And then pause, just take a rest for a second. And now see, can you lengthen the top leg away from you and reach that top leg away, begin to reach it away. Now I can feel it's creating, so that right side of the pelvis is lengthened away from me, my ribs are becoming super light. Can you see how the weight of my head is gone towards the crown of the head? And maybe you could continue this by bringing the right hand onto the floor in front of you and then reach that leg further away to bring the other hand to support you to come to sitting. So that leg reaches away. And then to come back down, again I come down onto my elbow, but I'm kind of using this leg as my counterweight, so I'm not falling down, and then think, can I come to rest back down on my side? So I'll share that again. Again, I initiate this, I lengthen the leg away from me, keep lengthening that leg away from me. You can feel how the ribs, or see how the ribs begin to follow the head. Feel the weight coming to the top of my head. I bring my right hand just to support me. Once the leg reaches further, I can then move my left hand to support me to come to sitting. And as I've come to sitting, that other foot has now turned towards the ceiling. And then to come back, I'm going to reverse that. So I'll bring the right hand onto the floor to support me. Then the left arm, I take that out of the way, and I return to lying on the side. Let's do that on the other side. Often joke with my students in Rutland, we're learning ways of getting up off the floor. If you find yourself at a party having landed on the floor in uninvited circumstances, it's good to have a few strategies to get up and down off the floor. So come to lie on the other side, have your bottom leg bent up, top leg long. And first of all, do you remember we just moved the shoulder and the leg together in both directions, up and down, up and down, and then we had them go together and then further away, together and further away. So again, big bridge being created underneath me, together and further away. And then pause and then think of reaching that top leg away from you. So I keep reaching. I'm not lifting it, I'm sliding it down off the floor. You feel all these ribs picking up off the floor, and then my left hand helps to support me to bring the weight off that bottom shoulder, so I can use the other hand to support me now. You'll notice my chest is turned towards the hand, and then you can keep reaching that leg. Notice how my foot turns, the leg turns towards the ceiling, and I brought myself to a sitting position. And then to come back, I bring both hands to the floor, and I begin to bring my right hand in front of me so I can rest down, and I'm back on the side. It's just like magic. So I reach this top leg down, that's it, in a way that notice how I begin to allow the leg to turn towards the ceiling. I reach now, here I've got to here, I've freed up that underneath shoulder so I can support myself with my left hand to bring myself up into a sitting position, and then I come back. I sort of follow the same route back. So I'll just show that again. Reach, free out the shoulder, bring the hand to support me, and then into a sitting position. And of course here I've got all sorts of options which we haven't got time to explore with today. I can bring this into a side sitting, into a all fours position, get back to side sitting, I can go back to lying on my side, again I can reach to come up, this can go into a full sitting position, and then I've got other directions that are available to me. So I hope you find the lesson enjoyable, and I hope it helps you to realise the importance of some of the movements we did in lesson 3, those hip and shoulder circles, how it may seem we're just sort of doing random movements of bringing hips and shoulders together, but you can see how they relate to a much more functional movement pattern. It's a functional movement pattern that also has relevance to walking, for example, and as I said at the beginning, to going up and down the stairs. I'll just show you what I mean by that. You can perhaps appreciate how walking involves a transference of weight onto one leg and then the other. So if I pause on my left leg, can you see how, to keep my head and eyes more or less centered, this left side is lengthened, this right side is shortened, and vice versa. It's very common if a person's had an injury or a surgical procedure and they're trying to avoid a painful leg, that they keep themselves just on one leg, even though they may be going forward. There's not that smooth transition of weight from one side to the other. And you can also, I'll just get a step, you can perhaps see how going up a step, so to show you from there, see it's that pattern we were looking at, remember bottom leg bent, top leg long, that ability to go up a step and then down a step, how those movements we've been practicing in the trunk are relevant. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you did, please hit the like button. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you did, please hit the like button below. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, then please hit the subscribe button.